Well, welcome to tonight's Ingles on the Beat show. Obviously, a very busy Monday. Good Monday for Georgia. Good news. Let's start out with basketball, huh? Good news for basketball. You say, wait a minute, basketball, where'd that come from? Well, you just landed Jabri Abdur-Rahim. He's a 6'7" transfer from Virginia, the son of NBA player Sharif Abdur-Rahim, who, of course, is originally from Atlanta. But Jabri's a guy, he's a 6'7", 214 wing. Didn't play a lot last year. Expected to be immediately eligible. We're all expecting the NCAA to pass this one-time transfer deal. Coming out, he was the number 6 small forward in the country in the 2020 class, and he ranked number 38 overall. So this is a guy that Georgia could maybe build further around. Remember, looking for scorers, you saw earlier this last weekend, Georgia landed some players, right? Tom Crean has not just sat back. He has added some guys to this basketball program. I think there's a lot of excitement when you take a look at where Georgia basketball is headed. I know they lost some guys. I know you say, well, what happened to Ty Fagan and what happened to Monty Kamara? I was like, yeah, those are tough guys, but they didn't want to be here. They want to go somewhere else. Fagan wanted a bigger role. Well, he's going to have to shoot better than 25% from three to get that role. Kamara, I don't know what to say. I thought he was a valuable contributor. He's going to Dayton. That was where he was originally headed. So that's where he's at. But Georgia now has, I think, kind of replaced these guys with more size. Again, Abdur-Rahim, a 6'7" transfer from Virginia. Then you got Jalen Ingram. He's right from around here anyway. He's from down there in Madison, Morgan County. Here's a guy that led Florida Atlantic in scoring last year, 6'7", another one of those wings, shot 45% from three, led the Owls in scoring 12.3 points per game. So another guy that can score. And then, of course, you got maybe the rim protector you've been looking for, Braylon Bridges, earlier this offseason, 6'10" post from Illinois, Chicago, 9 points, 4.5, almost 5 rebounds a game. So Georgia has added some size, and you've still got Severe Wheeler, I would argue the best point guard in the SEC, one of the best in the country statistically when you look at what Severe did, and KD Johnson, that explosive score. So some good news leading off the show, some people coming in the program, want to get that news out there. Now let's touch on baseball real quick. Second half of the show, I got a treat for you. I got Scott Stricklin to come on the second half of our show, Georgia baseball coach. He's going to talk a lot more about this Georgia baseball team. But how about those Bulldogs? 14-2 Friday night over Vandy. They dropped one, 14-2 Thursday night over Vandy. They dropped one Friday night, tough one, 5-2. It was 1-1 in the 8th. And then Saturday, they polished off the series with a 9-1 win. Jonathan Cannon named the SEC Pitcher of the Week. Connor Tate, the hitter of the week. These guys had incredible success against the number 1 ranked team in the country on the road. Vandy had the number 1 team ERA in the nation, and they were the number 1 hitting team in the SEC, and Georgia shut them down. And we will talk extensively with Scott Stricklin the second half of the show. You're in for a real treat. That is one hot program. They got Georgia State Tuesday night, and then they got Kentucky coming to Foley Field for a 3-game series this weekend. Now let's get to football. Scrimmage 2 was this weekend. It really didn't have the bells and whistles that Scrimmage 1 did. Listen, Kirby's got to give everybody a chance to play. That's one thing he promises everyone. You're going to have a chance to win playing time at Georgia. And he took advantage of Saturday to get a lot of those 2s and 3s, a lot of reps. They also got some wet ball work in. That was very valuable. As Kirby said, it seems like every year there's a Georgia game played in inclement weather. He could have gone inside for the whole thing. He said, nope, we're going to stay outside at Stanford for most of this. They did end up going inside. And from what I'm told, once they went inside, JT Daniels lit it up. And so did Justin Robinson. But when they were outside, Kirby said, I don't think I want to keep showing everybody what we're going to do. So maybe some other guys had an opportunity to shine. And the good news was that Carson Beck and Brock Vandegrift looked like who we thought they were. And both of these young men are really coming into fruition. I mean, Brock has this big arm that translates. I mean, it's one thing to see, like, you have a big arm in athleticism when you're playing against private school kids. It's another when that arm looks big and your athleticism stands out when you're on a football field with other guys at Georgia. And Brock has that look about him. So a lot of excitement starting to build about Brock Vandegrift. Some of the doubters like me, some of the skeptics that were like, well, let's see what he does in the big time. I'm starting to go, okay, yep, Kirby knows what he's doing. He's landed a pretty special one. And Carson Beck, nobody gave up on him here. I know there were fans, oh, why isn't he playing? Because he didn't go through spring, because he didn't know the playbook. Let's give the guy time to adjust to the college game and have at least one spring to work with his coaches, okay? And now that Beck's got that and 1 year under his belt at the training table, he's starting to look into a pretty special player. So the future is bright for Georgia. All those people saying, oh, if Kirby doesn't win it this year, he'll never. No. Go away. Is, yes, there's a sense of urgency. JT Daniels wants to win a title here. But for those people saying now or never, no, that's not true. There's plenty of time left for Kirby Smart. The way he and his staff have recruited, there's a really strong vibe coming out of Georgia football, I got to tell you. And JT and Justin Robinson, you're asking a lot of Justin Robinson. I want to say that. I mean, the kid's getting plugged in at the X, and he's replacing a guy that I believe was been the best receiver in the country. I think Pickens was going to catch 100 balls. Now, not everybody is on board with that, but based on what I was hearing, the relationship that I know that George has with JT and the way those two had worked together in their chemistry, and nobody cares about Gunnaby, right? But now it's about Justin Robinson. Can Justin be that guy? I know we talked about Jermaine Burton, but Jermaine and I'm not saying Jermaine's not going to play the X, because I think he will. I think Jermaine's going to play multiple positions. Right now, by the way, still out day-to-day with a hyperextended knee, but I just think Justin fits that role better. So let's stay tuned on that one. Kearis Jackson, Kearis is a Bulldog in every sense of the word. He's going to be on the field contributing. That's just who Kearis is. It's why he's a leader. It's why Kirby sends him to these leadership seminars. He likes what Kearis Jackson is made of. And if you impress Kirby Smart, you're doing a lot right, because you guys know Kirby is one tough critic. Demetrius Robertson, this is it for D-Rob, right? This is it. He's got to do something. This is his last chance to be an NFL player. He's got to have a special season. No one needs to tell D-Rob that the pressure's on. They're probably tired of hearing it. But the fact of the matter is, when you come out of high school and you're the number one receiver in the country and a 5-star, and you go to Cal and you're freshman All-American, you arrive back at Georgia, and everybody is waiting to see D-Rob have that breakout season. Could this be it? Arian Smith, maybe the fastest player in the country. Yes, I said the country. Remember how Eric Stokes ran a 4.25? Arian Smith's faster. The kid literally has world-class speed. He's also running track at Georgia. Takes some of his time away from football. He could probably be more effective if he was all football, but understandably, this is a guy with world-class speed that also has interest in a track career, and that was agreed upon. So we'll see how it shakes out for Arian Smith. I know he wants to be a star on the football field. He's competing with guys that are there every day. It's going to be interesting. Arian did catch a touchdown pass from Carson Beck, I'm told, in the scrimmage. James Cook had a nice touchdown run, 25 yards. Kendall Milton continues to look like the best runner on the team. What's going to happen there? Del McGee has said seniority will not matter. I still think Zamir White's going to start. If Georgia talks Zamir into coming back for another year, it's going to be really hard to put Milton out there first. Now, that's not to say Milton won't get more work, but at the same time, I mean, this is just one that's kind of got me tongue-tied, because I don't know what you do, right? I thought Zamir was going to go pro or transfer to another program. Now, Kendall Milton passing him by, and you wonder where Kenny Mack's going to be when he comes back, and Cook. Just not sure what's going to happen there. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Zamir, I'm told, though, looking better running routes himself, making himself more of an every down back. And we know that he can pass protect. He's a champ. He's strong. He's determined. And he's a leader. So a lot to be said there on that offense. A mouthful to get out. Defense. Well, what about defense, right? It's always good under Kirby. Well, you're losing a lot now. You're losing a lot. Let's be fair. You're losing 5 guys that are going to be picked in that upcoming NFL draft in a couple weeks. You're losing Mark Webb. You're losing Richie LeCount. And you're losing 3 cornerbacks, right? Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell, DJ Daniel. You're losing a lot. And how do you just replace 5 guys? And the answer is one day at a time, right? So Lewis Cine is back, and you know what he brings. Here's some really good news. Christopher Smith, and I've said it a few times, so I got to say it on my own podcast. Christopher Smith is the guy that had sand kicked in his face at the beach and has spent the offseason bulking up. And he's going to go back and beat up the bully. I mean, look at Christopher Smith. He's added 10 pounds. He looks strong, and he's playing mean. And I'm hearing he delivered a shot on Brock Bowers. And how about Brock Bowers, tight end, is playing as a true freshman? Let's give Bowers a little shout out. But Christopher Smith could be that dude that we thought he might be at first coming out of high school when he got recruited by Alabama. Alabama offered this guy a scholarship. And he was behind Richie LeCount on the depth chart. And I'll slow you down a minute. But now that it's Christopher Smith's time, listening to his interview, this is a guy that strikes me as a breakout player. I'm just going to tell you, I think he's going to get even stronger and even better, because Christopher Smith has opportunity in his sights. And this guy strikes me as a very special player and a very determined young man. So I've got Christopher Smith circled as a guy that I expect to be a breakout player. How about Jalen Kimber? We talk so much about Kelee Ringo this, Kelee Ringo that. He's got a fun name. He was the number 1 ranked cornerback in the nation, top 10 prospect, all that stuff. But he suffered a torn labrum. So let's take the pressure off of Kelee a little bit. Let's give Kelee a little bit more time to get some reps and get up to speed. Kirby's tried to tell us that. Kirby said, look, he's sitting in the front of the meetings. He's coming to all the meetings. He's doing everything he's supposed to do, but it takes time. So let's back off the Kelee Ringo hype for a little bit, and let's give Kelee this off season. And maybe when the fall camp comes, we'll start talking and pressuring and saying he needs to be ready and all that. But right now, the kid's healing. He's doing everything he can. But the best cornerback in the room is Jalen Kimber. And listen, just because Keelee's there doesn't mean we shouldn't have been talking about Kimber, but that's kind of how it works, right? Kimber was a top 10 player in the state of Texas. This is a guy who's assignment sound, and this is a guy that plays profound. I know Kirby Smart likes him because he's complimented. For Kirby Smart to compliment a DB, let me tell you, stop the presses, because you all know how Kirby was with Richard. He was all over Richard until his senior year, and that's the way Kirby is, though, right? Now, Kirby did say Jalen's got to put on some weight. He needs to add some weight and bulk up, where he can be physical enough to run, because Kirby insists that all of his DBs can tackle. There's no such thing as a cover corner at Georgia. It's just assumed that you can cover. You're a football player at Georgia, and everybody has to tackle. And that's an area that Kirby Smart said he wants to make sure the team gets better at. You got to be careful because you don't want to injure guys, but at the same time, you got to practice it enough. So Jalen Kimber, a name to watch and look for. And I'll tell you this, my tips for watching, and we're going to have a cover 4 on Thursday, and I'll talk with Jeff and Connor and BA about it. But my things to watch for are the secondary, right? The Jalen Kimber. I want to see Amir Speed. Speed's a guy that's got this window of opportunity. I fully expect Georgia to bring in another cornerback through the transfer portal. So I think it's important for Amir Speed to really grab the moment, to really step up and show what he can do. He's been in the program 4 years. I've seen him. He looks prolific. I mean, you look at, you put football player in the dictionary and a picture of Amir Speed's next to him. I mean, he is a good looking football player. He's long, he's strong, he's fast. He hustles. He plays special teams with a passion. I mean, this is a guy you want to see make it. So I think I'll be hoping to see Amir Speed have a big G-Day game. You want to see where Keelee's at. Kelee is coming along. Again, like I said, give the guy time. He's coming back from a torn labrum. You're not going to see the best version of Kelee yet, but you may see some sparks and some flashes and some highlights because he is a special player. I just don't like all the pressure it seems like being. Camarda's kicking field goals. Look, you already know that Jake Camarda is maybe the best punter in the SEC, but the guy can also kick field goals, so we'll watch that too. But now I want to take a break. It's time to recognize our sponsor, Ingles. Without Ingles, we couldn't do the show. So let's take this moment, watch this commercial, and when we come back, Georgia baseball coach Scott Stricklin.
It's in our hearts to feel for real. There's been ups and downs, turnarounds, good days and some bad. But we stand together for worse and for better. We'll always have your back with open arms, heart to heart, hand in hand. Community strong.
Well, welcome everybody. Mike Griffith here. Tonight's Ingles on the Beat. I promised you a special guest, and here he is, man of the hour, man of the weekend, team of the weekend, Georgia baseball coach, Scott Stricklin. Coach, I'll tell you, anytime a program takes on number one in anything, it's a big deal. But Vanderbilt, maybe for football reasons, carried a little bit more interest, but also because the Commodores had the number one team in the country, the number one hitting team in the SEC, and the number one staff ERA in the nation. And you guys went in there and just absolutely disrespected Vanderbilt. 14 runs on Friday night. Coach, I know you guys are confident, but did you see 7 home runs and 14 runs coming in Nashville?
Well, you know what? I kind of joked with some friends of mine afterwards. I mean, that's just bad coaching. I don't know why we didn't think about it that earlier to just hit 7 home runs in a game and things would be a whole lot easier. But no, I mean, to be able to score those runs off of that type of a pitching staff. I mean, with Rocker and Leiter 1 and 2, that's the best in the country. And you could argue that's the best that we've ever seen in college baseball. Those guys are that good. And really right now, the early favorites to go 1 and 2 in the draft. But our guys had a really good plan. Scott Daly, our hitting coach, did a great job with our hitters, preparing them. And I just thought our kids really executed the plan, had great at bats all weekend. We're 1-1 in the eighth inning in game two, almost ready to win that series in game two. And then we came back on Saturday in game three and won the series. But we really had a chance to win all three games. I thought we played really well.
You really did. And I thought there was a bad pitch call on Tate otherwise in that eighth inning. I mean, I really thought wow, he got squeezed there. In baseball, you've heard it is a game of inches. But I'll tell you, that Friday performance and, you guys had taken a piece out of South Carolina. You'd beaten a top 10 team the week before. And, of course, last year the table was set with a number 2 team. We'll get to that later. It was what a tough luck year to have COVID strike. I guess there's never any good time. But this year's team, missing some pitching with some guys injured, some younger guys out there. And as you said, some bats that hadn't been maybe as timely as needed earlier, and yet it all comes together. How can you prepare, though, for pitchers like that? Is it focus? I mean, how do you go from, like you said, maybe not getting the timely hits earlier to just playing like gangbusters? Because 14 runs Friday, 5-2 on Saturday night, could have been more, and then 9 runs again, on Saturday, 5-2 on Friday. I mean, you guys hit the ball just really well all week. How much study is that versus the kids just being focused?
I think it's a little bit of half and half. We have a lot of video information for these kids, and they were all watching, Kumar leading up into Thursday night, and then Jack Leiter for Saturday. We didn't know the Sunday starter, game 3 starter until the night before. So that was a little tougher to prepare for. But the other part of it was the mentality. And we did that on Tuesday. We lost a tough one against Georgia Southern on Tuesday. And, usually our talks after the game are about that game. And our talk really had nothing to do with that game. We turned the page, it was over. And we just basically challenged our kids. It's time to step up. We're going to number 1 Vanderbilt. If you're scared, if you're timid, don't get on the bus. But we're going to go there and we're going to fight and we're going to battle and we're going to do everything we can to win this series. And if you don't feel like that you can do that, then don't even bother coming. Now, obviously, we know they're going to show up. Obviously, no one's going to come into my office and say, Coach, I don't think I can play. But it was more of just a splash of water in the face of, hey, if we're going to win this series, if we're going to get to where we need to get a little bit tougher. And I thought our kids responded really well.
They did. And again, it's a culmination of what you've built with this Georgia baseball program. And there have been some limitations to it. When you came here, I guess, 2014, 2015, look, you were a guy at Kent State. You could have just lived happily ever after and stress-free. And instead, for some reason, you jump into this boiling pot of water known as SEC baseball, where the top 5 teams in the nation are from the same conference. It's like, my goodness, you're just looking for these headaches. Obviously, you're a competitor, Coach, but can you talk about why you made this move to come to Georgia and what you've learned and what you've tried to build over the culmination of your 7 years here leading the program?
Well, earlier in my coaching career as an assistant coach, I coached in the state. I won't name the school, but I coached in the state. I also coached in the league. I was a pitching coach at Vanderbilt for a couple of years. So I'd been to Athens. I knew what Athens, Georgia was all about, the University of Georgia, just the community. It was a no-brainer for me, to be honest with you. I had some opportunities to leave Kent State on a couple different occasions, but it just wasn't right. It just didn't feel right at the time for whatever reason. And my gut just told me that this was the right thing to do. My wife was all for it. And, our kids, that's 8 years ago. And, so my kids were pretty young. My oldest, who's now a freshman at the University of Georgia, she was upset because, she just made the cheerleading squad. And, she has all of her friends in 6th grade. And that one was tough, but she got over it pretty quick when she got down here and saw everything that the University of Georgia and the Athens area gives. It just really was a no-brainer. It just felt like home, and this is the only place we ever want to be.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll tell you, and you had the ball rolling 2018, 2019, some really good Georgia baseball teams look capable of that College World Series return. You run into Duke in 18. You run into Florida State in 19. I mean, how much of it with baseball is just, I don't want to use the word luck, but matchup seems like such a big deal, especially that Florida State team that you ran into. I mean, those guys were smoking hot.
Yeah, I would say that the one that really, really stings is the 2018 Duke, when we lost twice. We're in the driver's seat. We're up, we win 2 games. We're in the winner's bracket. We got Emerson Hancock on the mound, and we're winning 4-1 in the 4th inning. And that's the one that still keeps me up at night. Florida State, it was like a freight train. I mean, those guys, it was just, they're on fire. And they had a guy on their team that had 0 home runs for the year, and he hit 3 in the regional. They just caught on fire. And you know what? It stings to lose anytime that you lose, but the Duke one stands out because we are in a really good position. The Florida State one stings because it was at home. And then you look at 2020, and we're sitting here ranked number 2 in the country with arguably, Emerson Hancock and Cole Wilcox. You could say Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. We had that type of pitching staff, and it just wasn't meant to be. So it stings, but you know what? We've turned the page. We got a little bit different team. We've got some young kids on the field, but we're battling, and we feel like we're making a lot of progress with this team.
No doubt. And COVID wasn't done. It took a bite out of you, Coach. The A&M trip, you stayed quarantined. You look good. You look like you're recovering. I'm not sure how appropriate it is to ask about COVID. I still don't know the rules about this crazy thing, but you look like you've gotten through it. But how tough was that? We saw Nick Saban go through it during football and Sam Pittman. How tough is it as a coach where you got to remove yourself from your livelihood and your lifeblood, your team?
It was extremely difficult. And I can tell you, as bad as I felt, I did not feel good. I didn't have to make a hospital visit or anything like that. So I know a lot of people had it worse than me. But just high fever, headaches, body aches, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't eat anything, felt really lousy for about 12 days. But probably the worst part of it was having to watch our games on TV, because you don't have a lot of perspective. You lose a lot of things. You don't see angles. You don't see things that are happening in other places of the field. You can't have any communication with your coaches or players during the game at all. It was extremely difficult, and it certainly wasn't any better for my health. I can tell you that. I was at home resting, but I was not resting watching our game. So just glad to be back out of it. I feel 100% now. It's been about the last 4 or 5 days that I've got my energy back and finally eating again and feel much better. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, and you said, I read one of your quotes where you said, hey, I'm not just coming back here to hang out. You got on these guys pretty hard, pretty quickly, and let these guys know what the standard was. Can you talk about that strategy? Because this is a younger team with a lot of young guys stepping into positions, but you're not cutting them any slack. Obviously, they responded in Nashville.
Yeah, on Thursday when I came back before the South Carolina series, I had an opportunity to watch from a different angle to see what was going on. And, again, just kind of like we did before we went to Vanderbilt, let's talk about toughness. Let's talk about grit. Let's talk about fight. Let's talk about pride, those types of things. I didn't feel like we played particularly well against South Carolina, even though we did take one. They're a top 10 team. We took one of them, but we're at home. We got to win that series somehow, some way. But Vanderbilt, it was time to put your foot down and say, this is what we're about. And really proud of our kids, the way that they played. And, now, on Saturday, we're sitting in right field talking about it and kind of basking in it a little bit. It was really great to play like that. And, I want you to enjoy it, enjoy this bus ride home. But when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's a new week. We got Georgia State on Tuesday. We got Kentucky this weekend in a huge series. So it's time to turn the page. We can't just sit back on what we just did. We've got to look forward to think about what we need to do next.
Yeah, well, you might have to you might have to throw out another bouquet. I saw Connor Tate was the hitter of the week, and I believe you also had a pitcher. Connor Tate, this guy was just on fire. I was like 7-12, 3 or 4 home runs, ridiculous. How do you talk about where Connor? Obviously he's a local guy. You do have some great talent in your backyard at Oconee High School and North Oconee, but man, Connor Tate really making a case as an MVP with that hitting this weekend. And Garrett Blaylock, you brought the storyline up. Here's a guy going back to Vandy where he started his career. You think there might be some pressure. He just delivered hit after hit, home runs, doubles. Those young guys, can you give me some more color and background on those two?
Yeah, Connor Tate's a 4th-year player, and his first year he broke a rib right before the season started and missed. We had to redshirt him. And then his second year, he played off and on a little bit. And then his 3rd year, last year, he was playing not every single day, but was a regular in our starting lineup. But it really hadn't clicked yet. And, now he's a 4th-year player. And everything has just clicked for him. He's really comfortable in the box. He's got a lot of power. He's a big, strong kid. He's 220 pounds, 6'3". And this weekend, he just really competed and battled against the best pitching in the country. And it just seemed like every ball he hit was right on the screws, and hit 3 home runs. And like you mentioned, was the hitter of the week in the SEC. And then Garrett Blaylock, I couldn't be happier for him because he's had a really tough career. He started his first year at Vanderbilt and just played very little, got a few at-bats his freshman year. He transferred, went to junior college, and really didn't play well there. The talent was there, but didn't have a really good year at junior college, and then came here, and last year played well early and then struggled a little bit, and struggled early out of the gate this year, and to the point where he wasn't really playing much. And he got back into the lineup because of an injury to Josh McAllister, and lo and behold, we go to Vanderbilt, and he looks like Joe DiMaggio. I mean, just hit everything, doubles, home runs, made great defensive plays at second base. He's playing out of position, and just had a dream weekend, and really happy for him because I know it meant a lot to him.
Yeah, and Jonathan Cannon, I guess, pitcher of the week. But Wagner gives you what you need. I mean, I'm trying to figure out this monkey. You're going to use 6 or 7. I'm going, what is, but it works. It works. You start Wagner, and you're going to go to that bullpen, and the pen delivers. Ryan Webb, phenomenal. Talk a little bit about those guys as well. I want to make sure everybody gets the credit they deserve for what I really believe was a historical. It's the kind of weekend coach that teams can really build off of.
Yeah, I hope we can build off of it. And Sean Kenny, our pitching coach, has done an outstanding job with our young staff. We've had 9 freshmen jump on the mound for us this year. And when you lose a Hancock and Wilcox, that's obvious. But we lost Garrett Brown and Will Childers, one projected to be a starter, one projected to be our closer. We lost them in the fall, so they're out all year. CJ Smith has been out for most of the year. We're hoping to get him back soon. So 3 out of our top 5 arms that we're expecting to pitch for us this year have been out. So here are the freshmen. Here you go. This is your opportunity. It's time to grow up really quick. And Luke Wagner's done a great job for us pitching that opening game for the first 4 weekends. And the reason why we did that is Ryan Webb and Jonathan Cannon were ill. They were sick coming into the season. So when we got them back in, we couldn't bump them a day earlier. We wanted to make sure that they got full rest. And so we're going to bump them back up now. Ryan Webb and Jonathan Cannon will go Friday and Saturday. But what we decided to do is we're going to throw the kitchen sink at them in game 1. Luke Wagner's going to go one time through the lineup, and then we're going to throw 5 or 6 different pitchers at you. And any hitter will tell you, if I see a different pitcher every at bat, it's really hard to get comfortable. And it's worked. We beat South Carolina. We beat Vanderbilt. And now what we're probably going to end up doing is revert and do that on Sunday, because Ryan Webb and Jonathan Cannon, they're as good as anybody, maybe not named Rocker and Leiter, but they're as good as anybody in the country. And they showed that this weekend.
Yeah, Webb went toe-to-toe with Leiter. I was really impressed, really, with the stuff that he brought. That was great stuff. I've been to Foley Field a few times, and it's just a great, not to necessarily to cover a game. I have covered games there, but I've also gone just to watch. I mean, it's a beautiful environment. It's kind of like the Wrigley Field of the SEC is kind of how I put it. And yet at the end of the day, I look at the finance, I go, but wait a minute. Some of these other SEC schools, Arkansas, 12, 13, Mississippi State, 14,000 fans, Georgia trying to do it with 3,500. Scott, I don't know where the facilities stand up and rank. I know Georgia hasn't put the money into it that maybe some of the other schools have, and yet there's still an exciting future. Can you talk a little bit about the future of Georgia baseball facilities? There's a new athletic director now here at Georgia. What's the direction that the Bulldogs are headed in that area? Yeah,
Josh Brooks has been very open and honest with me. We want to enhance our facilities for all of our sports. We want to continue to go. And we've got a great venue. It's a great place to watch a game. But we do need to catch up a little bit. And that's in the plans. And Josh, him and I have had some great conversations about it. And I don't think we're too far away from, putting that fundraising campaign out there and getting those blueprints out there for recruits. And I think we're getting really close. And to be honest with you, last year we were going towards that direction. We're number 2 in the country. Our season tickets are sold out. The buzz is going crazy about our team. And then everything comes to a halt. And we all know what's happened to budgets and all the things that have happened over the last year. So, I'm understanding. I know the situation that we're in here. And but I'm also realistic to know that we do need to catch up, and Josh knows that too, and he's been awesome about it. A lot of really good conversations, and I think here within the next year we're going to start moving forward and shaking some people's pockets to start getting this stadium where the rest of the league is, and we're all excited about that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, when your kids play like you really captured the moment. I haven't seen a program capture the moment like that in baseball, I don't think ever. And I've covered a few different programs. I mean, that was just a remarkable performance. And you say Friday night, 14-2. It's nice they got one. No. We're going deep into the night. Thursday night, 14. We're going deep into the night Friday. It's 1-1, and these Bulldogs are battling. And I'm telling you, if your kid don't get squeezed, that's a different game in the 8th inning. And then Saturday comes 9-1. Hey, this wasn't a fluke, folks. They're kicking this team's butt, and Georgia comes home now. We're all excited to see what happens this week, Tuesday. Really good Kentucky team. You're going to change up the lineup. Any other previews, any other notes? You mentioned you had a guy out. Is he coming back? Any other surprises from the Bulldogs?
Well, Josh McAllister, our second baseman, I mean, he's our second leading hitter and just been a great surprise for us. I mean, we all saw what he did in practice and inter squads, but he's never played at the Division I level. He's a junior college transfer and was going to redshirt last year. None of our fans knew who the heck this guy is. And all of a sudden he comes in, it's a walk-off home run early in the season, a lot of big hits, really good defender. And, he goes down with a hamstring, and then Garrett Blaylock steps up and plays the way he does. So we're going to have, when Josh comes back, we hope this weekend, he's not going to play tomorrow against Georgia State, but we hope against Kentucky Josh comes back. But now you've got an issue, a problem. Who do you play? Which all of us coaches, that's a good problem to have. But Garrett Blaylock, the way that he played this weekend, he certainly deserves to continue to get at bats. And, again, hopefully Josh is back this weekend, and we're going to have to move some things around, but it's a good problem to have.
Well, it's exciting, Coach. You got, as we said, Georgia State Tuesday, Kentucky at home this weekend. Clemson coming in next Tuesday for a home game. Still a couple dates left with Georgia Tech. And now we're all going to keep our eyes peeled on the Bulldogs in the SEC. Hey, this team can make the NCAA tournament. It's early still. There's plenty of time. No pressure, right? No pressure. You come on here, I'm throwing all this on you. You lose the number one, you lose a first-round pick pitcher, you lose the second-round pick, you tell me you're 3 pitchers down, and now I'm talking about making the NCAA tournament. But that's the kind of excitement that Georgia baseball created, Coach. We're all going to be watching. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, and I look forward to talking to you more this season.
Okay, thanks for having me, Mike.
You got it. Well, that was baseball coach Scott Stricklin. And again, you can certainly sense the excitement that I got out of watching the Bulldogs this last weekend against Vanderbilt. I was thoroughly impressed. I'm telling you, SEC baseball can be a lot of fun. It's intense. There's some really fan bases that really get into it. Georgia's got a great baseball fan base. I don't know if you've been to Foley Field. I know probably many of you have, but they kind of got that student from the house out in right field. I covered that game against Clemson a couple of years ago that went on and on into the middle of the night. I'm trying to remember, what was it, 18, 23 innings? I can't even remember. I was as punch drunk as anybody by the end of it. My eyes were bleary, and yet somehow Stricklin's team, I'll tell you, these guys battle. And there's just something about the way these Georgia baseball players carry themselves that tells me that Scott Stricklin is on the verge of some really big things with the Georgia baseball program. And Georgia fans will get behind. I've seen it. They get behind their programs when they're winning. Certainly gymnastics was a great example for years and years and years. And now football, we see the passion that everybody has for Kirby Smart. They also supported all their other. You just see it happening right now. I think this is a big weekend series for the Bulldogs. I think they've got to capitalize on this home series against Kentucky. I'm not saying they got to sweep, okay, because Kentucky's a good program, but I think they need to win 2 out of 3 minimum this weekend, because this is a program that's designed is to make the NCAA tournament. Now, frankly, Coach Stricklin didn't say it, but their facilities are in the lower half of the league. They're not close. We're just being real here. That's what we do on our On the Beat program. You guys like that. I'm telling you, they need better facilities. You wonder why some of these great players from the state of Georgia go other places. It ain't the education, because you get a great education at Georgia. In fact, Stricklin's team has set a record for GPA. So it ain't that. It ain't the campus, right? Sometimes it's the facilities. And facilities tell a player and how much that program, athletic program, has invested in a sport. I do think you're going to see some improvements. Again, Coach Stricklin is not a pushy guy. He's pushy with his players, right? You could tell how competitive he was. You can see where the players get their personality from Coach Stricklin, the resiliency, right? You've heard many times that teams take on the personality of their coach. That absolutely happens with Georgia baseball. So I wanted to bring Coach Stricklin to you. The Bulldogs are hot. They're an exciting program to watch. I'm eager for this game against Georgia State. I'm eager to see what happens against Kentucky this weekend. I mentioned Clemson's next Tuesday. There's a lot of good SEC games ahead for the Bulldogs. I know you're going to want to check them out. I want to thank everybody for watching the show tonight. I know Coach Stricklin appreciates all the support the baseball team gets. It's kind of that time of year, and we're switching gears a little bit. Of course, G-Day, we talked about that the first half of the show. G-Day's coming up. Remember what I said. It's not so much JT Daniels this weekend. Take a look at some of those backups and what they do, because that's the future. That's what's fun. Kirby's not going to show you too much of this year. And then look at the secondary, as we talked about in the first half of the show. I want to thank everybody again for joining us. Certainly want to thank our sponsor, Ingles. Tomorrow, Connor Riley, tomorrow night. Jeff Sentell does his show Wednesday night. We'll have our special cover for this Thursday. Hopefully we won't kill each other on the show. You guys know how we like to argue and have fun with each other. It's going to be wild. I know there's different opinions on our staff. And then every day, of course, Brandon Adams with Dog Nation Daily. Thanks for joining me tonight, everyone. Have a great week.